What up, my dogs? How's old AC gonna do on the 450? That's what this video is all about. Wanted to get in here and talk about this. I'm sure a lot of you guys are interested in, Adam Cianciarulo moving up to the 450 and how that's all going to turn out and everything, right? Quite the interesting story with Cianciarulo, however the hell you want to say his name, right? He was basically like, Villapoto Carmichael famous when he was on an 85, right? So it's like he's one of those that really had all the fame, all of the fan base, all of the backing way before he was ever even on, full-blown like pro outdoor racing. I think he first did that in 2013, right? And then 2014 comes out, wins his first Supercross race ever. You just can't forget that shit, man, because that's really a big deal to this video right here with Cianciarulo, is the whole winning his first Supercross race ever. And if you go look at him on the damn, the videos of that, where he's on the podium and stuff, right? He still looks like a little kid, right? In 2014, he still literally looks like a 13-year-old kid, and he's won his first Supercross race ever. This kid knows how to ride Supercross, I really, really think so. And I think him losing the Supercross season the way he did this year, at the very last race, weird little crash, I think it's going to kind of give people the wrong impression of Cianciarulo, right? And what I mean by that is I really don't think that he is all that much crack under pressure or get all nervous and stuff when the title's on the line or whatever. I really don't think he's that way. I know he just lost a championship on the last round from one stupid little crash. I get it, you know what I mean? But that's just motocross and supercross racing. You're going to have those weird little unexplainable slide out crashes, and they happen so quick that you can't even hardly do anything about it sometimes, Sometimes that's just the way it goes. I literally don't think that Cianciarulo is the kind to really crack under pressure, you know what I mean? I think he's always been good in those situations. And to prove that, if you can go out there and win your first Supercross race ever, the main event, your first Supercross race ever, you're obviously not the type to crack under pressure. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Some people are going to look at his Supercross finishes like him cracking under pressure. It really wasn't. It was just more of a kind of a little fluke crash. And then the thing about it was he damaged the bike so much that he couldn't even get up and try to still win the title. You know what I mean? I think if he wouldn't have damaged his bike very much, he would have had still a really, really good chance of getting back up and catching back up to a position to where he still could have won the title. I honestly, full-blown, wholeheartedly believe that he could have done that, right, if the bike wouldn't have been so damaged. But that's what happens in Vegas, because it's so damn dry, so slick, right? Just weird stuff like that happens, bro. That's just the way it is, you know what I'm saying? But I really don't think that was a cracking under pressure, whereas Savacci's little 250 last race incident, nobody can forget that action, right? Probably the craziest 250 race I've ever seen ever, with Osborne coming back and passing Savacci. That was more of a cracking under pressure by Savacci. You understand what I'm saying? Because he had all the opportunity in the world, right? He didn't get that terrible of a start or whatever, but versus pushing forward, he kind of just tried to ride it safe and was chilling in seventh, and that's what allowed Osborne to catch all the way back up from crashing in the first corner and then passing him, right? Cianciarulo's ordeal wasn't really cracking under the pressure. You got to understand the difference there. Whereas Savacci's, I feel like that was more the title and the pressure and the everything about it. It was getting to him, and that's why he was stuck back in seventh and wasn't pushing to the front of the pack, you know what I mean? And then he lost the title for it, right? But it's a whole thing to it, right? The whole cracking under the pressure and doing really well. But let me just get to what I think is going to happen with Cianciarulo in the 450 class, right? So obviously he's with Tomac, right? And he picked number 9, so he's going to be running that. If some of you guys didn't know that, right, you probably follow him on Instagram and all that bullshit. But yeah, he picked number 9, looks pretty sick. Going to be running that as his permanent number since he won the outdoor title. So yeah, that's pretty sick for sure. But as far as the Cianciarulo and the 450, right? So you remember me telling you he kind of came into Supercross 2014, right? He was still like a little kid, basically. And then from there, he started having all those injuries and shit. But then he hit his growth spurt, right? So he like went from a little kid to like a 6'2". I don't know how the hell tall he is now, but he's like at least 6'2" or more right now. He's like, it's kind of funny because he was like known as that little kid, like never hit his growth spurt, and then all of a sudden it's like bam, dude's like 6'2", talking like a man, like looks like he's too big on a 250 all of a sudden, when it used to be like he looked like he was too small on an 85 when he was like 13, you know what I mean? So it was like, it's funny how that goes, right? Typical as fuck though. Like that's how a lot of things in life go. Like, that kid that's like really small in school typically tends to be like the bigger growth spurt dudes or whatever. But yeah, so quite interesting how all that went down like that. But my whole point with that is it certainly changed his riding style, right? Him going, you remember how wicked he looked when he was like 2014 Supercross, because he was so small on that 250. It just fit him better at that time. But then once he hit his growth spurt, he kind of looked like he was too big for the 250 in a way. I don't know how to explain it. He just looked like he was over manhandling the 250 in a way. It just, his whole style changed when he hit his growth spurt because his arm length changed, his torso height kind of changed. Everything changed on the way he was kind of on the bike, right? So I personally think the 450 is going to fit Cianciarulo a lot better than the 250 did after he hit his growth spurt. You know what I'm saying? I really do. Like, I think that the 450 is going to just be more of a fit for him on that. So I honestly think he's going to fit into the 450 pretty quick. I think he's going to get it pretty quick, and it wouldn't surprise me at all for Cianciarulo to have like basically a replay of his first Supercross season on the 250 in the 450 class. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all for Cianciarulo to come out and win Anaheim 1 2020. It literally wouldn't surprise me at all. He has that weird ability to just like do that James Stewart alien level, like you just would never expect the dude to win something. If he can go out and win his first 250 Supercross race ever, I promise you, after all the time he's got in now, he can go out and win his first 450 Supercross race. You know what I'm saying? I promise you he can do that, right? I just had that feeling like he's going to get it going really quick. I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be quite an easy transition for him because he's been riding a 450 for a long time. Don't get it mistaken. Like, you guys know that video of him over jumping the 450 at Villapoto's house when he was literally like 13. Like, he knows what's going on with the 450, you know what I'm saying? And not only that, but he's going from Kawasaki 250 to Kawasaki 450, which is going to be an even easier transition than how some of the guys, they'll go from like pro circuit Kawasaki to Honda 450, or they'll go pro circuit Kawasaki to Yamaha 450, or they'll go, like Barsha. I think one of his biggest mistakes was going from the Honda on the 250. Then he got on the Honda on the 450, done really good. Won Supercross races, doing really good as soon as he got in on the 450. But then once he changed teams, everything went down the shitter hole, and he ain't been back to that point since. I think there's a big thing, and I think it's very underestimated when it comes to motocross and supercross, and a lot of people don't really talk about this, but I think it's so critical for certain riders to stay on the same team for multiple years in a row and really get that knowledge and testing and all that stuff that they have to have for years after years after years. I think that's one really big thing that contributed to Villapoto's 4 Supercross championships in a row, being on Kawasaki, and also on top of that, he was on the Pro Circuit Kawasaki 250 before that, staying Kawasaki the whole way. I think that was a massive culprit in what made Villapoto's consistent championships and stuff like that such a success, because if had Villapoto, like let's just say in 2012 or something like that, went to Yamaha or whatever other team, he wouldn't even have been the same guy. It would have took him another year or two. You saw that with Dungey. I feel like Dungey was a 1,000% completely different rider on the Suzuki. I thought Dungey was way better on the Suzuki. Then once he went to KTM, he went through that whole learning process. Took him 2 or 3, 4 years, and then once Villopoto gone, then Dungey started feeling the vibe on the KTM again. But you got to understand that you don't have that kind of time in motocross racing and Supercross, and it all happens really quick. The championships and all your competition around you learning and stuff like that, you really don't have the time to like waste 2 years on learning a new bike. You know what I'm saying? Learning a whole new manufacturer bike. But anyways, my point being was Cianciarulo staying on the Kawasaki. He's been on Kawasaki. You could even, you can even go further back with Cianciarulo because he's on the literal Pro Circuit Kawasaki team from all the way 85, maybe even 65, and then 85, and then, and then into the 250 Pro class. Been in the 250 Pro class for 6 years now. Then he's going to Monster Energy Kawasaki 450. So he's been Kawasaki full-blown pro Kawasaki team since he was on 65 to 85s. You know what I'm saying? So he's got as consistent and as much of a powerhouse of a team backing and background that you could possibly have in motocross and Supercross in the current day. Like, he's got the best potential and things around him to make him great in the 450 class at this point. You understand what I'm saying? He's got all the best possibility to do something great in the 450 class when it comes to all the team stuff. So, and him being with, Eli Tomac, I think that's even more of a benefit, right? Because he's going to get even more of a training. Tomac knows how to ride that fucking bike. You know what I'm saying? He knows how to ride it, and he knows how to ride it fast. Like, if Cianciarulo gets to really, doing some practicing with Tomac before the Supercross season, he's going to have that sort of dude there that really is top of the line, right? Versus, like, let's just say it was Barsha or Baggett in on the Kawasaki team instead of Tomac. Cianciarulo wouldn't have the same sort of comparing and having that guy there. It's basically like Cianciarulo's got Villopoto on his team with him again, like Villopoto in his prime on his team with him again, with Tomac being the way that he is. You understand what I'm saying? So it's pretty insane when you think of it like that, but that's basically like what it is. So he's got all of the team backing from since he was on 65, same manufacturer. He's got basically, you could argue, the fastest dude in motocross Supercross right now, Tomac, on his team currently, right? He won his first Supercross race ever. My point being is there's all the potential in the world for Cianciarulo to potentially go out there and, start clicking off titles quickly. Like, I don't know if he's going to do it the first season, like 2020, because it's always kind of crazy. Most of the time, they need a little strike of luck to win that first 450 title the first year. Most of them typically don't do that. I mean, Dungey did it, but obviously there was a lot of people out that year. Stewart got out that year after doing some races and stuff. So typically, that's not really all that likely for him to win the first one, but he could. But I'm just saying, I think he's going to get some wins in 2020, but then I think he's going to come out and win it in 2021, and then he may start clicking them off at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of do a Villopoto number, right? So go out there and win. Villopoto went 11, 12, 13, 14. I think Cianciarulo is going to possibly do that same sort of vibe, right? 11, 12, 13, or 21, 22, 23, 24, right? It'll be interesting, and it's weird. It's like ever since he started becoming like where he got his full strength, got everything healed up, and really started getting to that level, at full strength level on the 250, like about 2 years ago, I guess you could say, or a year ago or whatever, he's really not had any major injuries since then. And he's had some wrecks too, It's like he's finally got his body built up to that point to where he don't just break something every little fall that he has, or he doesn't like tear his shoulder out on every little fall that he has. He really has gotten his body to that like super fit level at this point because he's just not getting injured, right? So I think he's going to be pretty good on that side of it. I don't really think he's going to like injure himself too much or anything like that, but either way, definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys think is going to happen to Cianciarulo in the 450 class. I think he's going to get it really quick. I think he's going to learn it really quick. Even Mitch Payton himself said, in that little, once they won the 250 outdoor title, he said, I think this dude's going to be a 450 Supercross champ. I think the same exact way. In outdoors, I think Tomac's probably still got her on lock for at least the next 2 years. And so I think that's the lock-in, right? So it's like Cianciarulo and Tomac are locked in Kawasaki next 2 years. I think Tomac's going to retire after that, and then Cianciarulo is going to be kind of like the main man at that point, So it'll be interesting to see, but you really do have to think about this though. He's already spent 6 seasons in the 250 class. There's a lot of dudes completely retire after 6 seasons in motocross. I mean, you think about Villopoto 250 and 450 career. He spent a total of like 10 years in all that. You've got Carmichael, basically 10 total years in 250 and 450. So if you think of it like in the years of how long Villopoto spent racing, how long Carmichael spent racing, that whole sort of time frame, if Cianciarulo kind of replicates that, then technically he's only going to be in the 450 class for 4 years until he retires, which is kind of insane to think that. You wouldn't really think that, but that may end up being the case. You never know. But I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm just saying, most of them dudes only spend like 2 or 3 seasons in the 250 class, and then they're already up into the 450 class. So Cianciarulo's literally already spent twice the time in the 250 class from all the injuries and all the stuff that, it's already like, he's quite old, to be completely honest with you, as far as like typical dudes that move up into the 450 class. I mean, you've got, Webb, same age as Cianciarulo, and he's been in the 450 class for 3 years now, and finally won a 450 championship. So you see what I'm saying? But some of them are really late bloomers. I mean, like Osborne, Anderson. I mean, they were old as fuck when they got in the 450 class. Well, not old as fuck, but you know what I'm saying. Like motocross, supercross nowadays, typically the dudes get it done pretty quick, and move up to the upper echelon classes pretty quick. But I don't know. It's going to be a stacked year in 2020, man. Literally, I counted it up in my head, and I'm pretty sure that 15 out of the 20 dudes or 22 dudes in the main event or whatever, like 15, 16 of them are previous champions of some division. You know what I'm saying? You got Baggett, Little Stewart, Tomac, Cianciarulo, Osborne, Anderson, Roxon, Brayton. Did I say Barsha? Shit, I'm kind of like getting confused. Wilson. Let me think. Reed, I think, is coming back, right? I don't know if I said Osborne. Shit, I get so confused because I'm just saying there's a lot of dudes. There's a lot of dudeskies going to be in that 450 class, man. Big time dudes. You know what I'm saying? Muscan, right? Webb. Didn't name either one of those. So you got all those. Plessinger, So she's going to be stacked. It ain't going to be easy to go out there and just snag a win real quick in the 450 class next year. I would say the past 2 years right after Dungey left, that was the prime time for dudes to kind of break out of that box and win a 450 title. Now it's so stacked that you're going to have to be the cream of the crop again. You know what I mean? It's kind of almost getting back to that point like when it was Villopoto, Dungey, and Stewart and Reed really racing hard. You had to be a top dog to win shit when that was going on. It really does kind of warp and change on how the competition is in Supercross and motocross. And I think the past 2 years, it's been kind of easier. It's been kind of somewhat less competition. But now she's starting to get stacked again. Now it's starting to get back up to that point again where you're going to have to be on it and a half to win now. It ain't going to be no just accidentally win a Supercross title or anything like that. And I think it's getting back to that point to where you're not even going to be able to just consistently cruise and win a Supercross title. You're going to have to go for wins. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to, somebody's going to be going for wins. You're going to have, you know what I'm saying? So you're going to have to be not only consistent now, but also consistently winning. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the past 2 years, I think they could get away with just being just more consistent and still get the title. Whereas now I think you're going to have to really be consistent and be clicking off the wins at the same time. But yeah, I think he's going to do pretty good. We'll see how everything goes. Hope he stays healthy. He's going to be racing Monster Cup with Tomac. We'll get a little view of him there on the 450. But yeah, man, he's got all the potential in the world, all of the backing in the world, too. Like, I think one of the big reasons why he had so much, they basically gave him so much leeway on pro circuit. Like, typically they would have kicked a dude after 6 years on pro circuit and not getting it done, you know. But I think what helped him a lot on that was having such a fan base. Basically, like I was saying, being Ricky Carmichael level famous when he was on an 85 and, you know, winning his first Supercross race ever and being so closely connected with Mitch Payton and pro circuit, that all really played a part. Winning so many titles at Loretta's, I think every bit of that played a big part into why he got so much time on the 250, because typically they wouldn't do that. You know, they wouldn't give you that much time to get a title in the 250 class. So he really kind of got lucky in that sense. All of his, like, big amateur stuff that he did, I think really kind of pushed him forward on that side of it. But other than that, you know, I think that's definitely one aspect that really elevated his whole extra time that he got on the 250, but also that, you know, he may have more of a longevity 450 career because of getting hurt in the 250 class. And, you know, even though he's ran like 6 years in the 250 class, he's really only ran like 2 or 3 years, you know what I mean? So in a weird roundabout way, he's still pretty typical time-wise. It's just he took 2 or 3 years worth of injuries jacking him up on everything. So he may have, you know, another 6, 7 years in the 450 class instead of like 4. You know what I'm saying? He may end up being one of them dudes that can run 13, 14 years in you know, pro motocross or supercross racing versus like 10 like Villapoto and Carmichael did. So, you know, he may have that potential to you know, go a little more of the distance when it comes to that. But yeah, I think he's going to do really good. Wouldn't shock me at all for him to come out and win Anaheim 1. I think he's going to get a couple wins first season. He's probably going to win the second year title. We'll see if all that happens. Oh, dude, the Webb Cianciarulo battles. Woo, baby. Oh, man, it's going to be so much fun to watch that. Like Cianciarulo, Webb, Tomac, fucking, if Barsha can get it back going a little bit, that'll be some sick-ass racing, dude. Now it's getting to that point where you're starting to get those bigger names up in the 450 class, right? So now now it's like Cianciarulo, you know, that little Carmichael, that little Villapoto, he's finally up there in the 450 class battling with big names like, you know, Tomac and you know, Roxon's finally getting his shit going again. So you're getting all these dudes, getting big name dudes, getting back where they need to be. So it's going to make the racing a lot of fun, really interesting. It's going to be a year to watch for sure. Past 2 years been a little sluggish, but I think 2020 is going to definitely be a Supercross year to watch for sure. So either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.